with the Boston Celtics being a second-round exit this year because injuries and just because they couldn't get it done against the Knicks, and with them being way over the luxury tax next year and the second apron, with about 5 guys making over $30 million next year, someone's going to need to go, and I believe it's going to be Jrue Holiday. What is up, y'all, and welcome back to another video. And before we get into everything, make sure you guys like the video and subscribe just really quick, and let's get into it now. So obviously the Boston Celtics are a second-round exit this season, and out of all 5 of the guys they could trade who are making over $30 million, let's just make it clear that Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are off the table. Those 2 guys are franchise players. I mean, I guess I could do Jaylen Brown, but at the same time, like, why would you even get rid of him? He's your franchise, second option. And I feel like, between Kristaps, Jrue Holiday, and Derek White right now is the best player out of those 3 because Jrue Holiday, is getting up there in age, and Kristaps Porzingis could not stay on the court to save his life. But, I feel like Jrue Holiday is the most logical one because he's 35, and, he's not too valuable, but he's also not worth nothing. I feel like you can get something back for him. And honestly, at this point, you need someone who can reciprocate the value while, not making as much money. And I feel like, if you throw in Jrue Holiday and a couple picks, like second-round picks even, you can get someone pretty similar to that. And I feel like there's a lot of these, verge of a title-contending teams, that might be able to use Jrue Holiday. They can give up some, assets to get Jrue Holiday who are cheaper, and in return, they can get someone like Jrue Holiday who can elevate their team to the next level. Because there's a lot of these, like title contending teams that cannot really get to that next step, and maybe adding someone like Jrue Holiday who's been there 2 times now, won 2 championships, someone like a Jrue Holiday could help them, win the championship. So yeah, there's a couple teams we're going to go over, and let's talk about it. So the first team we have here is the Kings per NBA Central and Brett Siegel NBA. And honestly, this is not a bad team because the Kings, as of right now, need to start making the playoffs and need to start winning games because they haven't traded any of their stars yet. Obviously, there's some guys like DeMar DeRozan who was in trade talks, even Sabonis who was in trade talks. But if they keep their current roster, Jrue Holiday could be a good addition to them because, maybe they give up a Keon Ellis or someone like that. Maybe even like someone like a Keegan Murray, I don't really know there, and maybe a pick or a couple picks, and they could take on Jrue Holiday. I actually don't really know how the contract situation is going to work there because DeMar's making a lot, Zach LaVine's making a lot, Sabonis is making a lot. So I don't really know exactly how that would work. But, the Kings need a point guard. They've stated many times that they need a point guard. I mean, they traded De'Aaron Fox, but that's a different story. But they need a point guard, and Jrue Holiday would be the perfect guy to, give them the experience to maybe hopefully push them into title contention. I don't really know there, but, the Kings are not terrible if they keep their roster. But honestly, something's telling me that the Kings might just blow it all up. But if they do keep Sabonis, DeMar, Zach LaVine, Jrue Holiday could be a good fit alongside them. Another team thrown in the mix is the Dallas Mavericks. As a tweet from NBA Central says, Lonzo Ball, Jrue Holiday, and Chris Paul are names to watch for the Dallas Mavericks. This is per the Stein line. We're going to forget Lonzo Ball and Chris Paul here because we're focusing on Jrue Holiday this video. We'll come back to them another time. But the quote reads, league sources say Dallas is expected to at least explore whether there are feasible trade pathways to Boston's Jrue Holiday. Complicated as that would likely be given the 3 years, $104 million left on Holiday's contract, while also maintaining an interest in a far more reasonable trade target as we've discussed on the DLS Mavericks podcast. Lonzo Ball, another name, and then the rest is just Lonzo Ball and Chris Paul stuff, but they first started saying, their main topic or main target is Jrue Holiday. So we're going to focus on Jrue Holiday here, and obviously he's making a lot of money, like I said, that's why the Celtics need to get rid of him, but, he could be a good replacement for Kyrie until, Kyrie comes back, and he could be the necessary facilitator for Cooper Flagg and Anthony Davis going forward, and could even, make them, a high seed in the playoffs this year, because obviously the West is really stacked, but if Jrue Holiday can keep them afloat until Kyrie comes back, that could be very huge for the Mavericks, and I actually like it a lot. If they could figure out the contract situation, Jrue Holiday could be him. I mean, they have Daniel Gafford and PJ Washington who are making a decent amount of money, so you can throw those 2 in and get, Jrue Holiday. I don't really know exactly what the Celtics would take back for him. I don't know. That's a whole different complication. But, the Mavericks as a team, if they can get it done, is a good option for Jrue Holiday, in my opinion. And finally, the last team we have here is the LA Clippers, which is kind of interesting because they have James Harden, but he's also a free agent this year if he, goes to the free agency market. And, I mean, I feel like they would bring back James Harden, but Jrue Holiday being here could be interesting, move Harden to the 2. I don't really know exactly how that would work because they also have Norman Powell, Kawhi Leonard, all those guys. Maybe they push Kawhi to the 4, Norman Powell to the 3, James Harden to the 2, Jrue Holiday to the 1. I mean, that could be an interesting little, squad right there. You also have Zubac, obviously, at the center spot. But I don't know, man, because Jrue Holiday definitely has a history of elevating a team to a championship contender once he gets there because the Bucks, obviously in the 2021 season, he came there from New Orleans, won a championship with them, and then the Celtics in the 2023 season, or 2024 season, my bad, gets traded there and helps them win a championship. So, maybe he could be the guy, the missing piece for the Clippers. I don't really know. Maybe their front office is thinking this too. But I just don't know how he's going to fit in next to Harden because obviously Harden's not the best defensive player ever, and Jrue Holiday is a good defender. However, I mean, Jrue Holiday's getting older, And obviously, James Harden is the tallest 2 guard. He's definitely made it work in the past, but I just don't really know exactly how that duo would fit. I feel like teams would kind of just pick at James Harden and, putting him at the 2, guarding guys like, the 2 guard is pretty stacked this year. There's a lot of good tall wings this year, and James Harden wouldn't really be able to keep up with them. They'd have to put Jrue Holiday on them, and then, Jrue Holiday's kind of smaller there, so it might be a mismatch. But I don't know, man. I'm just speculating here with these teams. We don't know exactly, which team he's going to get traded to, or if he even gets traded at all. So I want you guys down in the comments to let me know where you think Jrue Holiday should go, or which team needs Jrue Holiday the most, I should say. And I'll say by my opinion right now, I think the Mavericks should be the best option for Jrue Holiday. If they can get it done. I feel like it's going to be harder for them to get it done, but I feel like if they get Jrue Holiday to the roster, it could be a huge addition to them. He could mentor Cooper Flag. Obviously, he doesn't play the same position as Cooper Flag, but he just seems like a good, locker room guy to have, and he could be a good influence around other players. Anthony Davis would also, reunite with Jrue Holiday, because Jrue Holiday played with him in New Orleans, and they actually had some runs there. So it could be a cool little scenario. I think the Kings also isn't bad because, obviously, they're not the best team right now, but if they can get Jrue Holiday, maybe he can elevate them. I don't know, man. I think the Kings should just blow it up all in all, but if they keep their core, Jrue Holiday could be a good addition to them. And then finally, we have the Clippers, which I don't really know how he would work with James Harden there, and Norman Powell's like 6'3", so I mean, I don't think he would be a great three-man either. So the Clippers are probably the bottom of my list out of those 3, but, any of the teams I could see happen. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you guys think about that. Like the video and subscribe like I said earlier, and we out.